think as a playwright, it's always very challenging to write a new play and to have it staged. I think you have to see how you can fit into other theatre companies, you know, what they want to have staged and all that. So it's always become a dream to be able to provide a platform, to have a platform to you know, have that space to develop, you know, new writing. And definitely not just my own, but also, you know, new writers and also new voices. So, I mean, for me, I feel like Singaporean stories, that's something I care about, and there are a lot of stories that are not told, that are important, that need to be told. So to be able to set up a company is actually a really empowering thing, kind of terrifying, but, you know, as a player, but it's like really take things into my own hands and, you know, having the power to say, okay, I'm just going to do this because I think it's important. I think it's important that these stories are told. I think it's important to support artists who are trying to tell these stories, important to support the communities whose voices need to be heard. So I think from there, the idea of Saga Seed was born. And I guess it just made sense to start with this play, The Shape of a Bird, because it's one of those stories that I think wouldn't get told any other way, because I don't think anybody else want to tell it. So it's such a, you know, it's such a complex animal, such an impossible creation.
What's become very clear to me through working on this play and the analysis of where I live in the United States, and even being here in Singapore, is that when you have to investigate the past, you have to talk about the past to even understand the present, so that you don't perpetuate it into the future. And I think that when people say, let's forget the past and move into the future, they're naive in thinking that the future is this bright place of possibility with no harm of repeating any cycle. And that's because they hold a place where the present is perfect and should continue into the future, which is not true, right? Which brings us back to the thing that we had said, like, for whom? For whom is it working? And is it working for all of us? And then it brings in a lot of questions about equity. You know, what is equitable for all of us? That's so exciting to me when we think about making simplistic man-animal this or that. And I mean, we're Asians. We should be able to understand both and, not either or. But how have we gotten stuck into either or? It's colonization, part of it, right? Part of that is that. But how can we reclaim both and? How can we reclaim a sense of understanding the complexities between things and yet not capitulate?
So reality creates art, but that art also reflects back and impacts reality, you know, and then it goes both ways. So it's really then what is our responsibility as you know, artists to speak up and the changes that we can make, but also what happens when our work starts to, you know, take a life of its own. And then the other thing is, I think the personal costs of making certain choices, public choices, per se, or principle, choices based on principle, but that there's a very real personal cost to it. And I think really exploring that, so that it's not in a vacuum. Like if someone is imprisoned or whatever, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. There is a real impact on the family, on the children, you know, and I think it's finding that heart of that, and then that's what, you know, that's what are we fighting for? What are we really fighting for? You know, and you know, what are the choices that we make to protect the ones we love, and how do we go too far?
And that's what theater is for me. A place where we have battles of the real in a safe environment, that the danger is to our preconceived notions. The danger is to, it should be like this, but why? What are the other possibilities? What can actually go forward? Or what is really happening? What is really happening underneath that? So that's been really like thrilling for me. This kind of discourse, it's like why I live at all. Not just why I'm a theater maker, but like why I have purpose.